Welcome to the Wine Zone. I'm Konrad Ejbich and this is Pro and Con. Today my guest is Krystina Roman, and Kristina is the marketing genius behind Rosewood Winery and Meadery on the Beamsville Bench, which is in the Niagara Peninsula, and that's in Ontario. Welcome to the show, Kristina.
Thank you.
So let's start by just briefly explaining what mead is.
Mead is honey wine. So honey wine is an alcohol derived from honey. So that's fermented honey. All it is 3 ingredients: honey, water, yeast.
Okay.
There are different types, but that's what the traditional mead.
So first thing I want to know is, are you a meadery that makes wine or a winery that makes mead?
This is a really tough question for me. It's like, you have 2 children. They're both a little different, but you love them equally. And we try to spend an equal amount of time on both.
Right. Now, but your grandfather was a beekeeper.
Yes,
Your grandfather came over from the Ukraine. He was a beekeeper.
Yeah.
And he wanted to start a meadery, but never was allowed to by the liquor board.
Absolutely. It was really his idea. He really wanted to. In other provinces, other beekeepers can make mead.
Right.
He heard about this. He's like, I'm going to make mead. He had it as a child. Unfortunately, the laws didn't allow for him to do it.
Right.
And unfortunately, got sick, couldn't do it, and eventually died before he could do it.
That's sad.
The dream was a meadery eventually. So I guess it's tough.
So that is sort of the first.
That's the origin.
What prompted it? I mean,
Yeah.
the idea would be that because of the way the nature of our laws here in this province,
Mm-hmm.
you created a winery in order to make mead.
Yes. I think that's a better interpretation of what we do.
So interesting. Now, mead was once the most common and popular drink, but it really fell out of favor. When did that happen, and why did that happen?
So with the advent of new technology, really, mead is one of the most ancient forms of alcohol. Like, some people date it to 10,000 years BC, some people 7. Wine is about 4,000 BC. So it has thousands of years of really rich history. It really started in warm climates where they couldn't grow grapes. Started in the Middle East, actually, went through Africa. Tej, actually, is the national drink of Ethiopia, is still mead today. So in some parts of the world, it's still popular. In North America, not really.
Okay, tell me what Tej is. Is it a sweeter version?
It is a little lighter. There's different styles.
Of course.
Yeah, so,
but is there sweeter? Is it because sweetness counteracts spice in food, so they would have a sweet drink to counteract the incredible spiciness of their food?
For what we've had, it is a little bit similar to this. A little less alcohol, a little less sweetness, but from what I've tasted, it's been very few.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to find here in Ontario. It's been a little lighter than this, but similar to this. Because their food is so fragrant. There's a lot of aromas and flavors. So the sweet balances. It balances the food. I mean, the food's so rich and beautiful and aromatic, and the honey balances out the spice.
Right. So most people are afraid of bees. What is it that they don't get about bees?
What they don't get is a bee is this small and we are this big.
Yeah.
That's the main one. No, what they don't get about it is they're actually docile. Through cartoons and pop culture, we've seen the word killer bees. And we're always kind of fearful of the swarm of bees.
The swarm
is going to attack us.
Terrible,
and,
yeah.
And they don't. There are actually only a few bees within a hive are known as the defense bees, and they're the ones that go out and really, if they're under invasion or if they have to go to defense mode, they're the ones that attack us.
Yeah.
Not everyone, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, I try to explain that to my son all the time. If you ignore them, they will ignore you.
Absolutely. They're docile, they're gentle. You see beekeepers, there's a French beekeeper, he has a mustache, and he brushes the bees, and they just fly around him. They feel the peace. Yeah, there's
symbiotic relationship. The bees come and clean his mustache.
They leave him a little bit of honey. No, they are quite docile, and that's what they do. I think there really is size. They forget how small they really are. They're about the size of one part of your finger here.
Yeah, just about as large as your
like
thumbnail.
Like a nail. Like they're tiny.
Yeah.
And so we forget that, and we get scared of all what we've been told about bees. But they're beautiful creatures, right. And the only insect that actually provide food for humans, or edible food that we can ingest.
The only insect that provides food for humans. That's interesting.
And there's a few controversies of what it really is, but it is an insect.
Of course it is.
It's the only one that creates food for us that we can actually eat.
Well, it's probably
and then
because
make alcohol out of it.
the other bugs, we haven't found their food. We haven't gotten to like flies, like spiders.
And ladybugs don't really taste good.
No, especially not those Japanese ones that we have.
No, not at all. So
tell me, something as ancient as mead, how do you make it sound hip and modern?
Sexy packaging.
Yes. Yes.
That always helps. And showing. So how we make it hip and popular, it's showing a younger demographic that we're so passionate about it. A lot of beekeepers, you think of a beekeeper, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
A guy with a big hat and all kinds of things all over him and hiding from these.
And a little bit weird and a little bit like out to himself. And there are female beekeepers, actually a few in the city that are female beekeepers.
Yes, I know.
And, we're really showing that that's not the normal stereotype of beekeeping or mead making. It's the thing, you meet mead makers, it's usually male, older, Albert Einstein looking kind of person, a little quirky. But my brother and I, who are both in our mid-20s, we're so passionate for our bees, so passionate for beekeeping and mead making that, we're showing that it's not just, the normal stereotype, or we're breaking down those stereotypes. And we really show it off by having it with fun food pairings,
Right. I was just going to ask, how do you is the process of selling mead different from the process of selling wine?
Absolutely.
How do you What's the difference between the wine lover and the mead lover?
Night and day, I gotta say. It's a whole different product. It's not only is it not well known, there's a lot of stereotypes against it. People have had bad meads in the past, and
I certainly have.
Absolutely, and they look at mead, they shy. They look at it, they're like scared of it. I'm like, it's liquid. Don't be scared of it.
But it's honey. I put honey on my toast.
It's sweet, exactly. They just have these misconceptions about it. I'm like, how are you? I raise a glass and they shy away from me. I'm like, I'm offering you something to drink, But they're different, and the way we do it, the way we sell mead and market mead and promote mead is through innovative food pairings and using it in cocktails, actually.
Okay.
So sometimes I hide it in there.
Right.
And we've got great bartenders in this city, and they've really adopted mead, and they love playing with it, especially ours, because ours are in French oak. Sometimes we add grape juice to it, so we really make some innovative meads, and that's how we're getting to bridge the gap between a mead lover and a wine lover. They really are quite different. We're trying to close the gap to really show the wine lover that mead, you can also love mead as well.
Is this one 100% honey?
100% honey.
This one does not have any grape or
this is the
other
mead. This is the Mead Royale. You can see the color; it's beautiful. It tastes great too, but it is in French oak. All it is honey water yeast from honey made here in Ontario.
Made in Ontario. Do you sell any abroad? Is any of it exported?
Not yet. We're looking at that right now.
Yeah. Where would you like to go? England is sort of the obvious choice?
Yes and no. Actually, we're looking into Asia as well.
Right.
They do have a palate for sweet and fine things. And then also other provinces. Actually, there's a lot of mead makers out there. So we're trying to get in there, really show what we've been doing here in Ontario. And actually in America, there's quite a lot of mead makers. So we're not sure whether we'll go there or not, but definitely looking at Asia.
So it's your whole family that is intensely involved in mead. You've got the king bee, the queen bee. What are you again?
I am the social bee.
The social bee. Your brother William is the
worker bee.
The worker bee. So tell me, what's it like working so closely and intensely with the family? Who settles the arguments?
Thankfully, we've matured a little bit now. We are an intense family. We definitely are. We're passionate for what we do. We live on the property. We tend to our bees.
Do you have a separate house from the winery then?
Yeah, right across from the winery.
Okay.
So we live there. We breathe it. It is in our veins. Beekeeping. I grew up on a bee farm when I was 4 years old.
Right.
So it really is such a big part of us. My brother actually has a big tattoo of a bee on him.
Right.
I'm thinking about putting one somewhere. And the way we work together is, we all have the goal of promoting what we do. And we all know our end goal, that we want to share our products. We want to share what we do. So I guess if there's any kind of heat, we take a second and remind ourselves of that goal. That we really want to share our products and we're all in it together to help each other out.
Right. You studied
So we are
marketing.
kind of, yes, I have.
You
So we
studied
kind of
marketing in
self-mediate.
university. So if you couldn't, if for some reason, you know, your parents weren't in the bee in the honey business, what would you be marketing?
Mm.
Have you ever thought
I
about
have
that?
a fan of-
Were you always focused on the winery meadery, or was there some other goal you had in your life?
I
at that
always
point?
had it part time. It was always a part of me. I mean, it's hard to shy away from a family business. You know, it's too hard. I mean, our family, we're very close knit. We're very close, so we really help each other out. And you know, anytime we can help, we're there helping each other. And so it was a natural progression. But I have dabbled in the IT industry.
Uh-huh.
So I worked at big firms, international. I mean, 300,000 person firms doing IT and technology.
Wow.
So I think I'd be either in some. I do love food though, and I love consumer products. So I'd be either in a consumer product company, I think, or in IT. I love technology. I really do. So
Sure.
that's
Sure.
a passion of ours.
And going back to the bees, I can't help going back to the bees. I guess that
They are lovely.
Do your neighbors freak at the bees, or are they thrilled to have them there because it helps, to their own grapes?
Actually, they love the bees. They really do. Our
They
bees
pollinate the flowers.
Absolutely. We would not have yellow plums without bees.
Right, but at the
They
same
wouldn't
time,
exist.
at harvest time, they love that sweetness. Do they not?
Absolutely.
Did they not eat into the grapes, or it was just
No,
the wasps?
no,
and stuff?
not
They
at
don't.
all.
They don't harm the grapes at all.
Actually, there's research saying that the grapes help the bees more than the bees help the grapes.
Grapes
Because
help the bees.
The
more.
resveratrol. So in the tannins, and sometimes if they're in there, we don't find a lot of bees in our grapes actually.
Mhm.
We do plant lavender,
Mhm.
and they like the wildflowers, so they really tend. Our property's beautiful,
Right.
because so lush, because we need it for the bees. But actually the resveratrol in grapes and the grape skins actually helps the bees. There's a lot of research showing that. So we saw that research about 2 months ago, and we were stunned by it. But it makes
You were
sense.
stung by it.
No, not stunned. We were stunned by it.
Stunned, right.
And actually, so our bees are quite healthy. People always ask us, what's the state of our bees? Are we losing
Right,
our
because there's
bees?
this worry, this constant worry about
Absolutely.
losing bees.
And no, we've actually, every year we add on more apiaries, which is like a bee site.
Right.
Every year we add more bees. Every year we save more bees. So we actually go out and get calls about swarms in the early season, and we actually go and save bees.
Right, and bees pick collect pollen from different flowers at different
Absolutely.
times of the year.
Mhm.
So, which is also wildflower honey is sort of like everything, but you can have like a lavender honey or an orange blossom honey, etc. So I would imagine that every year your meads are slightly different in
Mhm.
flavor depending on which flowers or what the quality of the flowers was that year. So
Also-
vintage.
Oh, exactly. That's why actually we vintage date our meads.
And how do they differ from year to year? Can you age them?
Absolutely.
And how long?
So this mead, for example, was aged for 6 months in French oak, and then a few months in bottle, and then we released it. So this is the 2008 we're drinking.
Uh-huh.
We're in, if memory serves me right, we're in 2012.
Yes.
So this has already been aged and it's tasting beautifully. And every year it ages better, it grows, it
What I mean
evolves.
is, in the bottle, does it age well? So if somebody
Absolutely.
collects it, should people be laying down meads from different years?
Absolutely.
And
It is
how
new
long
for
can
us.
they keep them?
It is new for us, so every year we're discovering how long and the longevity. But think of it this way, honey never goes bad.
Right.
But because we're altering it, the state of the honey, because we're fermenting it,
Yes.
but it still does have a very long shelf life.
Right. And how does it? What's your oldest mead? How do they change with time?
They evolve almost like a Riesling. A Riesling, it warms up. The acid, mind you, this doesn't have a lot of acid, but it warms up on the palate, just becomes bigger in the mouthfeel. An aged Riesling, it
A
has
little more caramel,
caramel tones.
toffee.
Exactly. So our first, actually, the oldest mead we've had is only 2006. So we don't really know. I mean, it's only 6 years old, not even. So we're still learning. So talk to me in 10 years. I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll let you know more.
I will. So
But-
we'll be back in 10 years' time.
But we also have, our other ambrosia, that we aged for 3 years in French
Explain
oak.
so you make a honey wine,
Yep.
and is it sweeter than this?
Yes, it is.
It's much sweeter than this. Some
Not
liqueur-like,
too
not
much.
quite liqueur-like.
Stronger than a late harvest
Right, and you age it for 3 years,
in French oak.
and then bottle it.
and then bottle it.
Okay.
And then wait a little bit. And then we put a little then we put a wax seal on it.
Wax.
Yeah.
Why would
We have
you use
to.
it?
We have to. It's mead.
Total marketing.
We have to. And then so that's a 2007 vintage. So we're still tasting it, and it has been a few years as it evolves. We find it opens up after a few years. We do recommend, the tasting note on this, on the Mead Royale, actually says, you can sell her till 2020. So talk to me.
Sell her till 2020.
So talk to me in 10 years. We're as eager as you all are to figure out how long they'll really age.
And it's 12.5% alcohol.
Yeah.
Select barrel aged honey wine, Mead Royale 2008. How much does this bottle sell for?
Guess.
I don't know, $800.
No. Come on,
No,
you know
no,
us.
I haven't a clue. Is it $18.95?
$15.
$15. $14.95?
$14.95.
$14.95 at the LCBO.
In vintages.
Yeah, in vintages.
In vintages.
Okay.
In their dessert section. That's where they placed it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you for coming in. I really appreciate this. It's been lovely.
Thank
talking
you.
to
Well, let's have some mead.
Yeah. Let's have some mead.
Cheers.
And sorry you can't join us right now, but and vintages. Go to vintages and you can join us. Thank you. Come back next time. We'll have more interesting guests. Bye bye.